If you were buying outdoor voices today, what would you do as the owner of OV?
I think I would go full online. I think I would try to go back and understand like what were the core SKUs that probably built the brand in the early days. You know, make sure the fabric is the best and the materials are the best because you want to really win people over and try to just make it really omni-channel.
Who is Temu a threat to? Is it a threat to Amazon? Is it a threat to Wayfair? Where does Temu fit in this general direct-to-consumer world?
It's a threat to a lot of people. I think Shopify for sure. I think Amazon, almost everybody here.
Basically, Etsy is becoming Temu, but far more expensive. How did we think that some guy was handcrafting a copper mug in his house?
Just some guy named Kevin sitting in his boxers, shipping you straight from Alibaba.
The reality was that these guys were just buying from Alibaba, drop shipping into their house, or sending to their house and drop shipping to us. Guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I'm an early investor in Fulfill. I invested in about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really nascent, and they were working with smaller direct-to-consumer businesses. Now they work with huge brands, including Nectar and Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway. In fact, another brand that I've invested in, Cadence. It's a fantastic ERP. The same thing that Klaviyo did to MailChimp in terms of building an email system made exclusively for our industry. Well, that's what Fulfill is doing to NetSuite. They're making an ERP built exclusively for our industry. It's fantastic. It is a single source of truth for your business. They offer everything from accounting to order management to inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. Make sure you never miss a sale. Learn more at fulfill.io. Okay, Nick, we're back with season 8, episode 9, 89.
Almost at the end.
Almost at the end of the season. You're heading to Sub Summit in Dallas next week. Is that right?
Yep. I'm going to Sub Summit. I'm going to go check on all your 30,000 houses that you own out there too. And going to get to hear the updates and see how people are talking about D2C and commerce and 3PLs all through the lens of a subscription business. So I'm excited for that.
Are you speaking at the summit? I'm always curious, if you're not speaking, what do you do? Are you just there or what do you do? What's your, are you a speaker?
Yeah, I'm speaking there twice actually. And then when I'm not speaking, I'll be honestly probably in my hotel room just working.
While you're speaking, what are the topics that you're speaking? I've never heard someone speak twice at a summit, but man.
Yeah, they got to bring out the big guns. No, but we've got, on Monday, I'm actually speaking I'm doing a fireside on the main stage with this guy, Leo. He's the SVP of marketing at FabFitFun and also the CEO of their blanket brand called Unhide. And then on Tuesday, I'm doing a panel with Hattie. She's the director of operations at Wellbell, which is kind of like a Nutrafol competitor supplement in the hair space.
Wellbell. Okay, gotcha. How big is FabFitFun?
Well, I think in the billions.
In revenue?
Well, FabFitFun is they've got the whole web of companies from Savage X Fenty to FabFitFun to Yitty with Lizzo to, it's like JF Brands, I think, is the holding company. And they own
FabFitFun is not that subscription box that you get every quarter?
Yeah, it is.
They own Fenty?
Don't they own Savage X Fenty owners?
I had no idea.
Textile Fashion Group. That's the parent company. And Textile they own Fabletics, Just Fab,
no, Just Fab
Kids.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not FabFitFun. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, totally wrong.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm really excited for that. I think that's going to be an awesome conversation. They have a separate business that they've just spun out, which is basically just a personalized 3PL. And so I'm excited to learn more about that too.
Awesome. I've got a few toilets that I need you to repair while you're out there.
Amazing. Just get me some good knee protection.
All right. Well, let's get started. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. One is some acquisitions of some brands. Another is about Temu, Amazon returns, and then finally some Klaviyo and email tips if we can get to it. Maybe we can start with the acquisitions. A bunch of acquisitions were announced over the past 7-10 days. One was Feet Clothing, the Venice or Santa Monica based clothing brand. Another was Omsom. We'll get to that, but I want to start with consortium brand partners buying outdoor voices.
Yeah.
You and I have chatted with Ty on this podcast. We sort of have an understand, I'm a big fan. In fact, I'm wearing Outdoor Voices, not because I thought of this, but just because I wear it all the time. If you were buying Outdoor Voices today, we know that they shut down all their stores. What would you do as the owner of OV? I'm curious to hear what changes you'd make, or like how you'd make this a successful brand.
I think I would, I don't know that I would do anything with the stores. I think I would go full online. I think I would try to go back and understand like what were the core SKUs that probably built the brand in the early days. If those are still relevant, which I imagine they are, probably bring those back in like the best possible way. Make sure the fabric is the best and the materials are the best, because you want to really win people over. And then I assume they're going to, if they bought this thing, hopefully they're going to put some real money into it and try to get some more eyeballs on the fact that they're back and maybe under new ownership. I think I would try to run it there. I would also probably try to see like, I wonder who else could sell this. Could Nordstrom sell Outdoor Voices? Could Amazon sell Outdoor Voices? And try to just make it really omni-channel. Before it was always just, I think, sold by Outdoor Voices only. And maybe if you did a partnership with them, you sold like a collaborative product. But I'd probably go omni-channel digital, and then maybe even see like, I don't see why Outdoor Voices couldn't be sold in Target.
Yeah, probably the price point. I think Target isn't generally in the business of being like, yeah, we're going to sell $80 athleisure pants. But you could change the price point if you want.
Yeah, or maybe like a subline for Target.
Yeah. And then so you keep the stores closed, and then can this brand advertise on Facebook? Like, is there how do you market this thing to make it alive again? I haven't seen an Outdoor Voices ad in a really long time. How do you make it so that it's not a brand people like may have recognized, but is sort of in the back of your mind and not in the front of your mind?
Yeah. I think from a performance standpoint, probably your normal stuff, Facebook, probably heavily catalog. But I think really like the what has to be done first is like on the brand side, like how do you make Outdoor Voices cool again? How do you make it exciting? Like I think with apparel, before somebody wants to buy from the brand, they want to know that it is cool, or it's trendy, or it's like the right thing to get. And so for that, I think you would probably need to get a pretty solid 360 campaign, or some sort of a, hey, we're back type of campaign, really good photography, something that builds that trust again. And then, probably run the gamut, see if you can get some earned media, some influencers, content creators, and then, start running some performance ads.
Do you think there's a possibility, if you were to buy it, would you consider sort of saying, look, I'm going to buy it. I paid, and I'm just making up a number here. I don't have any inside information. I paid $10 million for Outdoor Voices, including inventory. I bet I can make that back in 2.5 years without doing forget meta ads. We don't spend money. We'll keep 3 people on the team. We're going to launch some new products twice a year. We'll send out emails and text messages. We'll milk our email group. We'll milk our text message group. I think I can make $10 million in 2 years back. And after that, it's just gravy. You're sort of saying, hey, look, this is how I make the brand big again. What about if you're like, forget the brand being big again. This is Radio Shack. I'm just going to sell batteries until nobody buys Radio Shack batteries anymore. Would that cross your mind, or is that is that a crazy idea?
Totally. No, I don't think it's a crazy idea. It's definitely more of a conservative approach. I think it's like more of a cost, prohibitive, I guess. Like you're not going to be spending as much. You kind of milk what's there. I think the way I was thinking about it was like, okay, let's say you want to try to expand income streams as much as possible. I think to get other retailers to pick you up, or to get momentum on Amazon, or to get Target to be down to do like a lower priced line with you where, it's nice margin and Target sells it. Like, I think you have to make the brand somewhat cool again. I also think like Outdoor Voices, and I don't know, maybe like, Native is certainly past the stage where if Native went away today and came back in 6 years, everybody would still know exactly what Native is. But like, I don't know that that's the case for Outdoor Voices, where if Outdoor Voices goes away today and they try to be really conservative for the next 2-3 years, like, I don't know if they'll have that opportunity to go and take advantage of the brand name that it is today. Like I feel like the store's just closed and girls are always still wearing the doing things hat or the tote bag. But, in 6 years, is that going to still be the case, or 4 years when they try to clear the thing and come back? I also think I'm actually really curious to see how they do it. We should keep track of it. But I would hope that they have a few $1,000,000 set aside to like really invest in pushing the brand and giving it like a real go. Have you ever seen how like these buyers, because you said this was a private equity firm?
Yeah.
You ever seen like the deal side of these? Like when they're coming up with this, are they taking into account like the cost of campaigns to get things back, or are they more on the side of like, let's just milk what they have?
Really depends on the buyer and the brand. I think there's both of those happen. I think in this instance, they'd probably say we're not just going to milk what they have. We think that like, you're probably paying $10 million for this brand. So it's hard to get that back in 2 years, although I don't know any of the numbers, so it's not impossible. In the past, Outdoor Voices brick and mortar stores were actually the profitable element of OV. So I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah.
If I were looking at this business first, let me say a few things. One is I knew that it was for sale and I intentionally passed on the business. I would almost never buy an apparel business unless it was Hermes. It's so hard to run an apparel business, in my opinion. The returns are insane. Inventory forecasting is really hard. You have to have a new collection that you drop every quarter. And that new collection requires a lot of work on your end and then a lot of inventory forecasting. You have no idea if you're going to sell, this is the Cloud Knit sweatshirt. You don't know if you're going to sell 100 of these or 100,000. So, and then you don't know if you're going to sell them in black or blue or gray or some other color. So I would almost never get involved in this. Unless it was a miracle. I do think that you mentioned a lot of the things that I'd probably focus on if I did, which was wholesale right out of the gate. Like, does a brand have enough brand equity value to launch that Target line right now? 5 years from now, it certainly won't. I'd be like right now, I might be able to go into Target and if they say yes, I can spend money on marketing and because, I've got some guaranteed sales through Target and my brand might be relevant again. If the answer is no, I might say, okay, you know what? I'm pivoting my strategy or my thesis. And instead of try to grow this brand, I might just milk it. Although I don't know if there's value in that. I just don't know the numbers. I'd probably focus on international sales as well. Like, hey, is there...
agreed.
Is there room in China? Or are people interested in this in China or in Japan or somewhere else? And then the other thing I think, I always thought one of the bad things that they did, or one of the things they didn't do well, I shouldn't say bad things. One of the things they didn't do well was drop new collections. I was a huge fan of OV. I was constantly looking for new men's products. And once a quarter, I'd see a new shirt. And I'm like, this is not what I was hoping for. You really got to focus on drops per season. That's why they have Fashion Week in the fall and in the spring and swim. People are expecting new material. They want new clothing and new ideas. And I'm not sure if that's easy to do when you're private equity owned and I'm not sure if you're really in growth mode or if you're in just survive mode. So I don't know what happens. Certainly going to be interesting. And I'll be watching. Yeah.
I thought the woman who started Lunya, didn't she previously buy it?
She did. I think they bought it out of bankruptcy. She was running the business for several years. Yeah. And, it just didn't work out the way that it was going for. Okay. Let's move on to the next one, which is Feet.
Yeah.
Feet sold to 2.0 Ventures, undisclosed amount. I don't have much information. Feet had secured 4 rounds of funding. In 2022, the apparel company was valued for $75 million.
Yep.
And over 4 rounds, they raised a total of $5 million. So they didn't raise much, although it was at a high valuation, like $5 million, $75 million valuation. Obviously, those were multiple rounds, so there could have been more dilution, but not a lot of fundraised. And what do you think of that brand? If you were running Feet, what would you do, I guess?
I think where Feet and maybe a few other clothing brands took a turn was when they just expanded the SKU, the catalog, too much, too quickly. I think they started with socks, if I'm correct. And then they expanded to the hoodies. I could be wrong about that. But I think I would really try to nail, I think you got to figure out if you could build a business on one product or one collection or one line, one type of product, maybe with different colors or variants, before you just go, all right, we're going to do a bunch of stuff. And especially in apparel, because you've got sizes. So you've got colors and then you've got sizes within colors. So it's like one red sweatshirt or one sweatshirt might actually be, 20 different SKUs or 20 SKUs you have to stock up on of each thing for a sweatshirt. So, but yeah, I'm a fan of the actual product. I love the product. It's very cozy. I have a couple of them myself, but, yeah, apparel is just a scary business because you have to buy so many of every product, and you don't really know if something's going to hit or not hit. Like, I feel like apparel is very much lightning in a bottle. If something hits, it really hits. Otherwise, you're sort of like fighting the marketing and sales kind of trying to sell product, or you're just playing a very hard game fighting upstream where nobody actually wants the product.
How do you think Mad Happy is doing then? Like, Mad Happy is doing a bunch of new releases. They're opening a bunch of stores as well. How are they doing it differently than these other apparel businesses?
I don't think that Mad Happy just sells sweatshirts. I think a lot of what they've built with the brand around what it stands for and who the people are that associate themselves with Mad Happy, I think a lot of people buy into that. And the sweatshirt happens to be the way to buy into that and represent yourself as a buyer into that. Mad Happy, just like, they've got such a strong brand. Like, you could imagine the Mad Happy Hotel or like the Mad Happy Gym or the Mad Happy, the benefits that would come with the Mad Happy credit card. Like, I feel like they've got such a strong brand. That's what people are buying into. Also, they do a phenomenal job of dropping products constantly. And they do a really phenomenal job of like being in the culture in all the right ways. The people at the top of culture, everybody who everybody looks to, see what's cool. Like, they're all in Mad Happy.
Makes sense. What I loved about Feet is that I really felt like the CEO, the guy's name is Taylor. I think it really, like, Taylor really embodied Feet. Whenever I saw the brand, I thought of him. Agreed. And whenever I saw him, I thought of the brand. I thought they were like synonymous. And I was like, okay, if there's a relaxed California, I'm walking my dog on Thursday at 3 p.m. and enjoying my life brand or person, I think of Taylor. And so I really respected that
totally
the entire time.
Yeah, Taylor's a hustler.
Yeah, he is. The third business I wanted to talk about was Omsom. Omsom, can you tell everyone what Omsom is?
Yeah, Omsom is basically an easy way to make ethnic Asian and flavored meals by just adding sauce packet to whatever you're cooking. So if you're cooking, we want to make like a Thai stir fry. You just cook your chicken, you add your veggies in a pan, and then you just put the Omsom sauce, and you've basically got a restaurant quality stir fry.
That's exactly right. And so, there's other businesses in like the Asian food direct to consumer space, although that like categorizing Asian people so generically, I feel like I'm doing that with the businesses too. There's BY Jing, there's immi. I think you and I are both investors in immi as well.
Sanzo.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think of that one. That's a great one. Okay, so let's talk about the Omsom numbers. They did So first, they were sold to a publicly traded business, which was called DDC, which I thought was really crazy because DDC is like a tiny, tiny business. I can't believe it's publicly traded. But anyway, here's the terms of the agreement. It was an asset purchase agreement. Omsom did $3.7 million in revenue last year. The buyer agreed to take on Omsom's debt, which was $800,000. And if the brand hits certain projections over the next 4 years, they can earn up to $11.7 million. Or I shouldn't say they can earn up to. They can earn, there's upside in if they do well over the next 4 years. At the time of acquisition, the projection is they'll earn $11.7 million. Half of that will be given in stock and half of that will be given in cash. I wrote on Twitter about this. I thought Omsom had raised $2.5 million because I was just looking it up. But people messaged me after I posted this tweet, and Omsom had actually raised $8 million. So substantially more than I'd known about. What do you think about this acquisition? And what do you think this means for immi and BY Jing and Sanzo? Or does it not mean anything? Like, they're just not, I'm grouping all the Asian businesses together, and that's silly of me.
Yeah, no, I think, the interesting thing is Omsom. So I invested in Omsom in their first round and have seen the business since the early days. And honestly, like Omsom, immi, BY Jing, Sanzo, Nectar, they all kind of like grew at around the same time. They all kind of came out around the same time, and all of them have grown nicely. I think my interpretation of the acquisition, like, and I am an investor, but like I'm just speaking as not one. My interpretation of the acquisition is that they just needed capital and maybe couldn't raise it, or because like they had already raised 8. If you've raised 8 and you're doing 3 or 4, it's hard to go to investors and say, I need more money. So my interpretation is probably that this was a way where they could actually partner with another company. I think Drew Fallon wrote a thread on this too, and he said that they basically get $3 million over 3 years to hit their targets in order to earn out the 11.7. So it was probably a way of, all right, best case scenario, we can earn 11.7, which is good outcome. Worst case scenario, the brand will continue to live and continue to go. I think they're doing pretty well in retail itself. So like, I think the retail business will continue to grow and expand. And somebody else told me that this company, DDC, is basically looking to make a bunch of acquisitions and sort of become like this holding company where they bring these brands in, sort of create this distribution platform for sales, and basically continue to grow them.
Yeah, they are. I think they made another acquisition of a business called GI Industry, which is an Italian producer of Asian ready meals. I've never heard of them. I think that it's a great home for Omsom. Like, I think this Omsom acquisition, the Feet acquisition, and the Outdoor Voices so I don't think this really means anything for immi or BY Jing, or it doesn't mean much. I will say, yeah, like, doing $3.7 million in revenue, having raised $8 million and taken on another $1 million of debt isn't like the best operational excellence I've ever seen. But, these businesses are hard, and I respect that. I think, totally. And I love Vanessa. I think she's a great human being and did a fantastic job. Like, I really adore everything that she's built. These 3 acquisitions over the past week really made me reflect and think, okay, a lot of businesses have now, like, in the real estate industry, a lot of commercial buildings are starting to take hits. They're like, look, we thought that maybe we could outlast the fact that nobody's coming into office buildings anymore, or high interest rates. And now the music is sort of like they've heard, like they've had a come to Jesus moment, and they're like, you know what? We cannot survive any longer. Like, half of our building is empty and interest rates are really high. We cannot continue this operation anymore. Like, it's just not possible. And I think the same is true with a lot of direct-to-consumer businesses like Omsom and Feet and Outdoor Voices, which is they're like, look, we thought we might be able to survive a period of downturn, or, figure out what's wrong with this business because we can raise more cash. I think they've come to the realization that's not possible anymore. And they're like coming to the realization that, hey, we need to find a home for this business. Mm-hmm. All 3 of these entrepreneurs have done that. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this, which is not great outcomes by any stretch of the imagination, but a good place to say, you know what, I learned a ton. There's some upside in it for me if I join this new organization, or some upside just by signing these documents. And, I'll learn a lot more, and I'll be prepared for another business that I'll do better the next time. I think the last 3 businesses have told us that. And I'm really excited about that. Like, I'm happy that these businesses have found good homes and don't have to go through what 100%. Outdoor Voices had to go through.
Some of my best investments are in the second-time founders after the first business found a home or shut down. The second-time ones just rip so much faster.
Yeah, I love investing in second-time founders. In fact, I remember one of the early things about Magic Spoon. I think I invested in before they even had the name Magic Spoon, and I got a package from them. Like, this is what the cereal will taste like. And I was like, this looks like Cheerios, but tastes terrible. This was well before they had a final product. They're like, they were just experimenting. I had a call with them, and they're like, yeah, we started this other business where we sold cricket protein powder. And it didn't work out because no one wants to eat crickets, but we learned a ton. And I was like, you sold me. Like, you understand all the problems of the business. You tried something, it was unique, it didn't work out. You're already to understand that you're making this product and you're going to improve it. Like, all of the things that as soon as they said we're second time founders, I was like, I'm in.
And I think it's just much easier to invest in second-time founders.
Hey guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I invested $500,000 in Fulfill about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really a nascent ERP. Today, they've built out an entire set of features to become a single source of truth. They can do full operations, accounting, order management, inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. It's really incredible. They've got huge businesses working with Fulfill, Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway, another business I invested in called Cadence. The best part about Fulfill is how hands-on they are. You know, it's one of those founder-led businesses where the founder is still deep in the code and deep in the product. If you work with something like NetSuite, it might take you a year, 2 years. I've seen 5 years to get NetSuite implemented. That will not happen with Fulfill. Fulfill implementations take 5 weeks. It's not a traditional ERP. It's a 21st century ERP. And the same thing that Klaviyo did to MailChimp in terms of creating an email system built specifically for our industry, well, that's what Fulfill is doing to ERPs. Go check them out at fulfill.io.
Okay, let's move to the next topic, which is Temu. I've been hearing a lot about Temu recently, more than I suspected, actually. Like, I think Shein is trying to IPO now, but Temu, is Temu, let me ask you a question. Who is Temu a threat to? Is it a threat to Amazon? Is it a threat to Wayfair? Is it a threat to Etsy? Is it a threat to Shopify? All of them? Where does Temu fit in this general direct-to-consumer world?
Honestly, it's not just Temu. I think it's this entire, there's like a new layer of direct to factory, either platforms or even like agencies now. So it's like you skip, like Jason Wong, for example, you skip working with a massive packaging company or some sort of boutique packaging company. You work with basically directly the factory. And I feel like it's a threat to a lot of people. I think Shopify for sure. I think Amazon, almost everybody here, because it's like, well, I think it's a threat to the people who don't have, who sell either commoditized products or, don't have like strong brand loyalty. Like Hermes will never be threatened by Temu, but like Target's purse section might.
Yeah. At some point, Temu is going to be selling fake Red Stags, but I guess that doesn't affect Hermes already. Is Temu a threat to Simple Modern?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean...
And for the people who don't know, Simple Modern is a drinkware company that makes... this is simpling it. This is making it very dumb. Yeah, tumblers and like water bottles and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Simple Modern specifically, I don't think so, because they're already so massive and well-known. But I think if somebody was to just start another tumbler company... Like, I think you barely got a shot unless this is like Justin Bieber's Tumblr, you know?
I think you barely have a shot whether or not Temu is there and whether or not Justin Bieber is there. I think that's just a really difficult business to get into.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Temu is a threat to Simple Modern. I think Temu is a threat to virtually anybody on Amazon. Like, if you're like selling a durable good, like if you're selling a mattress, I think Temu is going to be a threat to you. I think if you're selling nail clippers or hair combs or anything, I think Temu is going to be a threat to you. And so I think it is a threat to Simple Modern. I think it'll hurt Amazon businesses. I think it'll hurt Shopify businesses. One of the, I think Wayfair, it might not hurt just simply because Wayfair has to deal with furniture.
Really?
And it's so complicated.
I feel like the direct to factory movement is actually a total threat to all of these furniture companies. Because have you seen the sites where there's actually a website that exists right now?
Dupe,
yes. Yeah, you just see the markup and it's crazy.
Yeah. I do think that like there will be threats to Wayfair, and I think they'll be very legitimate. I think of Temu more as I think of like in Amazon online, where you're like, it's hard for me to think of somebody who can do a really good job selling furniture and somebody who can do a really good job selling a hair comb. Because like, if you've ever shopped at Wayfair, it's amazing at how detailed you can get when you're like, this is what I'm looking for. If you're looking for a bar stool, you can be like, I want a counter stool or a bar stool. This is the height that I want it to be at. I want a back. I want it to have 4 legs. I want the legs to be this color. I want it to be made of this material. And I want I want it to be made of leather, and the leather should be green. Like you can get into a lot of like detail, but I feel like that detail requires specialization. And so I do think that there's a Temu to be built that competes directly with Wayfair. In fact, I think that's a great business. I just don't think Temu itself is it, because it's hard to be like, you can buy a comb, And you can also customize you can also look for counter stools that are 25 inches tall that have 4 legs with green leather and the legs are brown. Like, I think it's hard to build both in the same website and make them both like consumable to a regular person. Not impossible, but I think there's a Temu to be built that competes with Wayfair. I also think that like, the reason I brought this up is because I read this really interesting thing which says that 30% of Temu's top selling women's clothing is available on Etsy. It's for sale on Etsy. And 19 of Temu's top 25 jewelry items also appear on Etsy, often at much higher prices. Basically, Etsy is becoming Temu, but far more expensive. Like, you're going to get a product from Temu, but they're going to wrap it in
suburbs.
like a nice... That's right. That's exactly what it is. It's like, some guy like you or me, or some girl like you or me, and buying stuff from Temu probably in bulk and then repackaging it for Etsy. And I think that's a real threat to Etsy. To be honest, Etsy used to do this a lot with Alibaba. When I was running Caskers, we tried and sell like, those brass mugs that you drink like Moscow mules out of, or like, we try and sell all these like, niche products, and we'd buy them from Etsy and then resell them on our website because they were like very niche and custom. And then like for the first 6 months we were doing that. And then 6 months into it, we're like, wait, all this is just from Alibaba. The Moscow mule bugs that we're selling for $40 that we're paying $10 for, that some guy buys on Alibaba for $1. And they're literally the exact same mug. And so we're like, oh, we thought we were buying it from like this handcrafted person, but in reality, they were just buying it from China. Of course. How did we think that some guy was handcrafting a copper mug in his house?
Some guy named Kevin sitting in his boxers, shipping you straight from Alibaba.
Yeah, we were so stupid. We just didn't understand that that's not what was happening. The reality was that these guys were just buying from Alibaba, drop shipping into their house, or sending to their house and drop shipping to us. And that's what's happening to Etsy now. It's such a real threat to Etsy because I feel like it really ruins the platform of handcrafted goods.
Yeah, Etsy's also, I think in response to Temu, Etsy's been running a lot more advertising. I don't know if you've noticed it, but like they're running a lot more advertising focusing on basically like, get real handcrafted, made in the USA, authentic products here at Etsy.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Do you think there's any other arbitrage opportunities like this? So this is a clear arbitrage. Here's one arbitrage opportunity. 19 of Temu's top 25 jewelry items are on Etsy. Put the other 6 items on Etsy. Here's another one. Take those 25 items and sell them on Faire, Faire, and sell them to wholesalers, wholesale them to other retailers, like, people who have a bunch of spa stores or, whatever it is. Those are quick arbitrage opportunities. Any other arbitrage opportunities that you can think of? Like, this is a pretty interesting thing that somebody's doing. Like, any arbitrage opportunities that you've seen in e-commerce?
I mean, I would take the same thing. Instead of Etsy, sling it with a ton of affiliates at scale. Like, give them a huge margin and just go hard with affiliates. What's another one that I learned this week is, did you know that it's kind of e-commerce, but not really. The Chase Sapphire Preferred, not the Reserve, but the Preferred. If you get somebody to sign up and you're an affiliate to Bankrate or JP Morgan, they pay you $600 cash for one person to sign up. How have we not gone ballistic on the performance marketing side and acquired somebody for $100? It can't be that hard.
Great question. Let me respond to that, and then I'll respond to the other arbitrage opportunities. So one, that's how the Points Guy works. The Points Guy is owned by a company called Red Sea Ventures. I've heard it does something like, north of $100 million in EBITDA a year and something like $400 million in revenue. Although those numbers could be wrong. They work exclusively, like the way they make money is getting you to sign up for credit cards. And in every article they write, they're like, oh, you want to fly American Airlines from, New York to Heathrow in business? We've reviewed it. Let us tell you what the review looks like. But before that, this is how you earn American Airlines points. You have this credit card. Go sign up for this credit card. What I've heard is the banks have made it really difficult to become affiliates for their credit cards because they had so many scam people do this, where they'd be like, sign up for a Chase Sapphire Preferred card and I'll pay you $500. Fuck it. I'm going to get $600. I don't forget my CAC. might be $50 if I'm ready to pay you $500. Want $500 today? Fill out this credit card application and I'll Venmo you $500, you know? Like, so I think they got really specific on who could become an affiliate. And that's why like people like more reputable organizations like the Point Sky or 1 Mile at a Time or View from the Wing have become affiliates and remained affiliates because they're like talking about travel and plugging these cards gently and not doing the affiliate scammy stuff that is running through your mind right now. So I think that's like,
I'm like, what YouTuber can talk about money in a good way?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes. That's in fact, I remember there was, who was this guy? I remember this guy. I chatted with him more than 10 years or maybe 10 years ago. And he's like, I'm running affiliates to like, to something like this. And he's like, from the profile of a Black pastor. And I'm going after the African-American community. And he's like, this is what's really good for the, you know, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Honestly, that's,
pardon the pun.
Talk about audience creative matching.
Yeah. This was a long time ago. I wonder if that guy listens to this. I remember hearing it and I was like, I don't know how to feel, like impressed by your hustle, weirded out, like, you know, I don't know what to think of this, but I remember him doing that and I remember some sort of financial stuff. You know who else does a lot of that is like University of Phoenix. You can get paid a fortune from University of Phoenix if you get somebody in their lead flow of being like, sign up for a course. I think they were like, you know, 10 years ago, they were paying more than $60. I bet today it's more than $100 if you can get somebody to sign up. Just an email address of somebody who's qualified to like be interested in University of Phoenix course.
Ampush actually started by like the business when they started was arbitraging college lead gen.
Well, there you go. Wow. Okay, let me go back to the arbitrage opportunities for a second. I cut my teeth in e-commerce 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe not 30 years ago, but 25 years ago doing this, which was I'd go on eBay. And basically on eBay, people are like, I have a bunch of junk and I put it into a box and they called it a grab box. They're like, here's a bunch of junk. It's a grab box. They'd all be 99 cents. And they're like, look, you don't know what you're going to get. It's just a bunch of junk. And so I would buy these grab boxes for 99 cents and then I'd break down the individual goods and resell them on eBay for more. Sometimes I'm like, you know, I can't sell this thing for anything. It'd be like a pair of really shitty headphones that you'd get at like a hotel. But other times you're like, here's this really crappy MP3 player that can hold 5 songs, but maybe somebody will pay $5 for it. And so I'm like, okay, I invested 99 cents and I got $5 on this item. And like, you know, I probably made, I don't know, $50 and spent 400 hours doing this. It was a terrible use of time, but it was an arbitrage opportunity. I know these guys, I know 2 guys, they live in like, you know, the South and they go to Home Depot and TJ Maxx and a bunch of other retail and like, you know, Ross and Marshalls, and they just go every day and they look for something that's on clearance and they look it up on Amazon and they're like, okay, you know what? This ceiling fan is selling for $50 at Home Depot on clearance right now. On Amazon, the buy box is $200 and it's selling 5 units a day. So let me buy these 50 units that are sitting here on this Home Depot floor and sell them through Amazon. I'll sell them for $75 or $100. I'll sell them for $150. I'll make a bunch of money. I'll win the buy box because I'm the cheapest price. People are looking for them, and I bought them from Home Depot for $50 because they're on clearance. There was another arbitrage opportunity, literally going to retailers, buying what's on clearance if it sells more on Amazon, and then putting it up on Amazon.
Yeah, fully agreed. That is... every time I go to TJ Maxx, I love going to TJ Maxx just to see what brands are selling there. But like, you know, they've got stuff from Quip that's like a $50 brush. They're selling it for like $9.99. They've got all the entire product line from Hims and Hers and some of the other Curology entire product line. Like there's so many things. Yeah, you could go buy at TJ Maxx and just flip on Amazon or there's even like there's companies who they become a distribution point to like 250 e-commerce sites like Christmas.com or gifts.com, like these random e-commerce sites that just sell anything and everything. And you could plug into everywhere along with Amazon and probably go find a bunch of good shit at TJ Maxx.
Insane. Yeah, like those arbitrage opportunities continue to exist. I think they exist in a different way than they use. Like, I think this is a great arbitrage opportunity. One other guy, in fact, I just thought of this. I didn't even have this on my document. I heard him speak and he's like, he started offering a free baby carrier. Like, those backpacks where you carry a baby?
Yeah.
He started offering, he said free plus just pay $19 in shipping. And a bunch of people would buy it, and then he would drop ship it from China. He'd go onto like Alibaba, fill out the information or whatever it was, and ship one to China. And people would be like, why? I just got this box and it has Chinese characters all over it. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, some people would be like, I don't like this, I want to return. Well, he's like, well, it was free. You just paid for shipping and handling. So you can ship it back to us, but you're not going to get a refund. Yeah, you ship it back to us.
That's amazing.
You get $0 back. And so he he ended up selling like 40 or 50 of these a day at some point. And so the Chinese seller was like, what's going on here? How are you buying 40 or 50? You're having 40 babies a day? And then he's like, hey, look, I want to form a relationship with you. Right now, every time someone buys from me, I have to go through your website and place an order so you drop ship to that person. Instead, I'd love to be able to send you an Excel spreadsheet of 40 orders and you just fulfill them all. And they're like, great, that's a deal. He didn't make a ton of money doing this, but what he did do is he ultimately had an email list of like 50,000 new mothers because he's like, these people just bought baby carriers. And, I didn't accept returns. And like basically my CAC was $20. And I got $20 from the customer. So it didn't cost me I just got an email. I got 50,000 email addresses of new mothers that I could use to market other baby products that I'd really want to sell. I thought that was a really interesting arbitrage opportunity as well, at least an arbitrage opportunity to gain an email list. And I think those still exist in the world today.
Yeah, I fully agree. That free plus shipping model used to work so well back in the day.
Doesn't work anymore?
Maybe 5 to 7 years ago now. Because now the second there's people who are upset, like it'll tank your ad account.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Oh, well, this is a nice segue into the next thing I want to talk about, and which is Amazon returns. Amazon, when a product is returned to Amazon, do you know what happens to it?
No, but what's funny is I was thinking about returns the other day. Like, who opens the box and decides this is allowed to go back or not allowed? And like, what happens to all the product that comes back that's got a scratch on it and they can't put it back in the new? So I'm curious.
So the reality is some stuff is returned to seller. The seller says, I'm ready to pay Amazon an extra fee and you have to ship it back to me and I'll do the work to see, hey, look, can this iPhone be returned or not? Like, can this iPhone be resold or not? Some stuff goes into like liquidation. Like, there's some liquidation. Oh, I think that goes into liquidation. Oh, really, there's one like disposal. The reason that I brought this up was because one of my mother's friends works at an Amazon warehouse. And he was talking to me about it at this dinner party. And he said, look, basically, if we get a return at our warehouse, the first thing we do is if it's an Amazon product, we'll actually take a look at it. Like, this is Amazon, it's an Amazon brand. We'll take a look at it and see if it can be resold. If it's not an Amazon brand and it's not returned to seller, the first thing we do is throw it in the garbage. We don't give a fuck if it's a perfectly brand new item. We don't care. The only thing we're going to do is throw it in the garbage. And we charge for disposal costs money as well, if you're an Amazon seller. But really the interesting part was he's like, look, what we'll do is we'll make Gaylords or we'll make a pallet of stuff that we've thrown in the garbage, and then we'll auction off that pallet. We'll have an auction saying, hey, look, people come here and buy a pallet of returns from Amazon. You don't know what you're going to get. Could be you're going to get 50 iPhones. It could be you're going to get 50 pieces of used underwear that somebody has bought. You have no idea. And I thought that was really interesting, where people were like, that Amazon had moved into this liquidation of returned goods and selling returned goods. And I remember asking the guy, I was like, look, can I go into that warehouse and bribe the guy who's like and be like, what's the, you buy this stuff like a store. Have you ever seen this show Storage Wars?
Yes. Where you buy like these random ones that they haven't paid their bill.
That's right. But you have to buy it. You can they open up the door, but you can't go in and like rummage through the boxes. Similarly here, you can't rummage through the boxes or the pallets or Gaylords of returns. And I was wondering, is there an arbitrage opportunity to bribe an Amazon official, to bribe an Amazon warehouse to be like, okay, where is the Gaylord or the pallet or the boxes with all the iPhones? Did you put all the iPhones? Can you put all the iPhones in one box? And can I bid on that box or that Gaylord? I'm not sure if it happens or doesn't happen. It's one of those evil ideas where you shouldn't do it. But I'd be curious. I bet somebody's doing it. Is the sad part. I bet somebody. Like I asked the guys, like, is anyone bribing anybody there? He's like, no one's bribing me, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I was like, well, I might need you to help me find the right people. I didn't actually say that.
Want to start?
I thought it was really interesting. yeah. Which I thought was crazy. That was like that was an Amazon return thing where I was like, I wonder if this becomes an arbitrage opportunity for somebody.
Yeah, at that point, you might as well just bribe them to give you the fresh iPhones.
Yeah, you're probably right. The arbitrage opportunity, the legitimate and real arbitrage opportunity, I think, is buying what they're going to dispose of, sight unseen, the same way I used to buy an eBay grab box and then reselling it. The evil business idea is like, hey, maybe I can bribe somebody to find out what's in what.
Yeah, one of the things my did, which is hilarious, back in college was she played on the tennis team. She was on a D1 tennis team. And so she would go back to school like 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the break, prior to whenever everybody else would come back. So if it was winter break, I think their break was a month, but she would only get 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks they'd have to be back practicing. She would basically get the textbooks that have been sitting in the bins that, the donation bins that nobody's emptied out, and she would sell them on Amazon and make a ton of money, like a crazy amount of money. And they were going to be resold anyways, but she ended up basically, she paid summer rent, got like all her expenses paid. It was amazing.
Wait, I'm sorry. Where did she get the textbook from? From the donation bin?
Yeah, like, around campus, there's donation bins of like, for like donate your textbook.
For somebody else to like get a book.
I can already hear the backlash.
It reminds me of this Office episode where someone like, they're doing like a Thanksgiving donation drive. And Creed comes into the office and just starts taking stuff out of there. And Jim's like, oh, I think that you're supposed to donate stuff. And Creed's like, yep. And he just walks out with it. That sounds like the person we just bleeped out.
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time to go through the Klaviyo tips or the email tips. We're going to have to save that for another episode. But this was a great episode 9. I had a fantastic time.
Yeah, this was awesome. We've got a couple last exciting episodes and we'll carry you out through the season.
Awesome. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.